discourage and to advise people to shun and probably come up with, other ways of, of making your homestead without doing that. One of them is by coming up with the cattle-proof, the predator-proof bombers, which are somehow expensive, not available, but we still find today a few families with that type of predator-proof bombers. We had that idea as a conservancy. If you look, we have some weighing scales outside there. There was this plan whereby the conservancy wanted to reach out to the landowners by advising them to go for this. Otherwise, we would have addressed even the issue of lions coming to kill the cattle inside the bomber, because they will not get into that homestead. So that is what the master used to do. But all along, we've had a lot of human-wildlife conflicts. This is something that we might not say is not going to be there anymore. As long as that you are living with the animals, these are things that you will always encounter. What we need to do is that the community to be enlightened on how to protect themselves. What are you going to do? Because as long as the lions are here, the cattle, as long as the elephants, the buffaloes are here, and you are here, these are things that we'll always have to encounter, especially because of the common resources. Water is a common resource. If this is the only water point that we have, an elephant will come to that water point. You will also go to that water point. As long as you're going to meet at that particular resource, then it's going to be a challenge, because there will be that friction. So I don't know whether I've addressed the question, or maybe Mark can help me, but she can also do that because she's a local. She knows everything.
Okay, you find that before even the creation of conservancies, we had a lot of human-wildlife conflict, or maybe, I don't know, is it after creation or before, where we can find more cases than, I don't know whether it is before or after. Did you do that research? Did you get to know which time did we have more or less? We didn't. But you find today, let's talk about today. Because you find today there's a lot, I think there's a lot, if I can say. Because you find there's a lot of human settlement as opposed to just a year before the conservancy. Because you find that there's this demarcation of land, allocation of parcels, so there's individual land. So you find your land has been parcelled where there was breeding of, let's say, lions, breeding of elephant. So you have no alternative, you have to go there and live there. Also the water sources, you find there's a lot of settlement, so there's that conflict in the water sources. So these animals used to come and drink water here, and there's another settlement that are settled there, so there's that conflict. Also you find the fences are also, there's migratory corridors, so these fences are also bring a lot of confusion to, let's say, the elephant. You see, there's another conservation area that's being created called Pardama there. So these elephants from here used to migrate through this route. So there's another settlement that's settled there. So because of this settlement, you find there's that conflict in the migratory corridor. So you can maybe attribute those cases as why maybe there's so much human and wildlife conflict. Okay, there before, you find masters that live with this animal since. So they knew how to, even when walking, or when you're transiting from one place to another, you find this person knows how to dodge this elephant. He knows there's a wind coming this side. And they were not so much aggressive like today, because they were not being pushed from one place to another. There was not that noise. They can find somewhere to stay without any mess. Because you find this place, there were no camps before. There were no movement before. So you can find a very peaceful place. So they were not such aggressive as they are today. So when one Maasai's know how to dodge when transiting from one place to another. Like they say, the wind is coming from this side, so this wind is not going to get my, what do you call it?
Scent.
Yeah, the scent is not going to get my scent, so I had to let me go this way and find my way out. When they settle on Dickson was also mentioned that these people like settling in plains in a very clear place that you can see an animal coming, or the animal cannot even have that guts of coming to near your homestead because it's a plain, so there's nothing that comes, like there's no these things they feed on, so you're not worried about this animal coming to your home. So those are some of the things that they used to do. The homestead is about fencing using the branches, and they are comfortable with that because the animals also they also respect boundaries. When it comes to boundaries, elephant respect boundaries a lot. When he comes to, let's say, he came in and find a fence, he has to go back and say, okay, this is not my place. That's how they have been doing.
Yes. And in terms of the water, sometimes, so I've been researching, and it says that there's an ongoing water war. If you find yourselves where you build water towers or wells, do you ever have cases where elephants may come and knock them down? Since I know that I've heard from them with the droughts and everything, how is that handled?
Even water tanks. If the place is very dry, elephants will come to your water tank like this one because they follow that water. So you find here now, let me not talk about here, but let me talk the other side. Completely, there is somewhere where there is no river, or when it is there, a seasonal one, that goes for a month. Then after 1 month, it's dry. Then you find on the community side, people have dug water tanks, as reservoirs for the drought spell. The elephants will camp there. So you find that in the morning, all the community, livestock, they are stuck because they cannot get to the water pan. Why? There is like 20 or 30 elephants camping there because of water. So in this case, scenario, nowadays you have to call the Kenya Wildlife Service. These are the people who will now evict, who will chase the elephants away out of the water pan for the community to come and drink water. So those ones, the only mitigating measure is by having multiple water sources for the community and so if the conservancy can, at a strategic position, can have water pans and all that for the animals, then let them also have on the community side. It will be very easy for I'm sure they will not leave the other one at the conservancies to go to the community side. I'm sure they also don't like that pressure and that being disturbed or only that they are cornered and they also want to drink water, and that's why they're going to the other side. So in that scenario, nowadays people just contact Kenya Wildlife Service. We also have our rangers in the conservancy who are contacted first, and then they will also call KWS to come and help for the community to be able to also access water. Yes.
Okay. And in terms of, you said the plains, is there a difference in how the villages are being constructed now, where maybe there's no more like barriers around? Has the architecture and the makeup and design of the villages changed over time with the conservation and all these other parties joining in?
Basically, it has changed a lot. Initially, the traditional way of the Maasai is that they had a big homestead that could be hosting 5 to 10 families. But since land was demarcated, it's now individualized. So that means in a homestead of 10 families, it's now one family. It's now one family. So there's not that big. The only place that probably, which is quite very rare nowadays, is maybe if one is married to 5 or 6 wives, then you find all of them in the same homestead. But even today, if you have 2 or 3 wives, you try to scatter them, each one of them to go to a certain point. So there's a lot of change when it comes to that design, because there's not that big village that used to be there. And then number 2, there's changes in terms of lifestyle. There is a new generation that is coming up, people who are going to school, and people who have a different priority now than what the community used to have. For the community, initially, in the yesteryears, their priority was to have a big herd of cattle, many sheep, many goats, many wives. Now, with this generation, you don't have time to look at the many herds. Probably you are in school, probably you are working, so your time is very limited.